Good afternoon and welcome to Awakened Wellness. Marie is here and I, Jocelyn, and we have a fabulous show planned for you. Part one is intent. But before we dive into that, I'm sure you have some excellent feedback because that's been just getting better and better.
I know. So my first one, I have a client, she's 92.
Oh.
And she's been struggling with her bed, and she just wanted a new bed, and people don't realize how hard that is to get out and try one out and do all those things. And every time I see her, we've talked about different ways for her getting one and getting the ride, and she's trying to decide, should I spend the money on it or whatever. And she came in a couple weeks ago and she said, "You would not believe what happened." And I said, "What?" She goes, "I had to do something in the middle of the night the other night, and I went to my other bedroom to do it, and I realized I had a bed in my house the whole time."
She forgot about the guest bed.
Yeah.
And she could have been on that one.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It just happened accidentally, and she was so excited that it solved all her problems. She had the answer the whole time, and she just was so focused on doing her routines, and when she went out of her routine, there it was.
I love that story.
There it was. It just goes to show how
story.
Sometimes the answer's right in front of us, but we're so stuck in our patterns.
Boy, that literally, it's right in front of you.
Oh, I've had that happen many times, right in front of me, and I'm like, how could I not know that?
Oh, that's a great story.
Yeah,
I love
so I thought that was fun.
Well, buying beds are very difficult, and I have to be honest, in the past couple of years, since COVID, with all this order online, they're not what they used to be.
No.
And you really have to go to a store.
You do.
What else have you got?
Okay, the next woman, after her husband's passing, she struggled a lot to handle the things that he used to handle. And day by day, she didn't think she could do it because it was just so overwhelming. And she just started going within and started really listening to the dialogue in her head and arguing with herself.
Oh.
And now she's got rid of most of the negative dialogue. She's making choices she never thought she could. She's changing her life dramatically, and she's doing extremely well.
Wow.
But she had to really take the time to say, why am I thinking that? Why? Yeah.
That was going to be my very next question is, why was she having those conversations? And I know we've all done it.
Right.
And why do you, I think we've talked about it in other shows, I know we have, where you create a scenario.
And a lot of relationships are built on one is stronger than the other in other areas, so you never delved into them in your marriage. So now you're left hanging when the other one goes, and you didn't realize all these things needed to be done, and you don't know what to do. So you have to change yourself a lot when that happens if you're not really understanding the dynamics of what makes your household work.
Very interesting.
So she's grown a ton.
Good.
She goes within more and more all the time, and she's doing like things that I never thought she could ever do. So it's pretty cool.
That's excellent.
Yeah, and the last one, I have this client, and she has this weird thing where her body shuts down periodically, and she just ends up in the ER, and nobody can figure it out, and it's just been devastating to her.
Wow.
And we've been working for years, and as much as I've kind of cued her into what it's been, she just hasn't, the bells haven't gone off. So recently the bells went off on why it happens. And it is behavior driven and things like that. And it's life-changing for her. But there's no way medicine could have ever picked up on what she's doing that's causing her health issues. So she had to figure it out. And now she knows. She doesn't like it.
Right.
But she knows. And it's gotten so clear that she can feel it coming on now. She knows what to do to change it. She's not...
Seriously.
It's huge. Like I said, people get so mad when medicine can't figure it out, but it's usually not in what they're looking for. So sometimes you got to be your own detective.
I don't disagree with that, and I think that we've been conditioned
to think they know it all.
To think exactly that
and I get
the
that
answer
all the time. People keep saying, "Why aren't they helping me?" I go, because what you're dealing with isn't within their scope.
Correct.
They don't know. If it's not within what they learned, they don't know how to look for it.
Or if it's not, if they can't find it with a test, if they can't, fix it with a med, they're at their wits' end. And I think that whole going within, identifying with your body, being able to listen to your body is extremely important, because it will point you in the right direction. And it's not always the hospital, and it's not always the doctor.
I think what people forget is you're sitting in front of them and they've got like 15 minutes with you, but you're in your body 24/7. You know yourself better than anyone else, but you're giving this person who knows nothing about you all the power in 15 minutes to figure you out.
Right.
There's some things they can figure out with tests and blood work, but there's some things they'll never figure out.
Correct.
So that's when we have to step in and get to know ourselves, because we, again, are not present in our bodies.
Yeah, we're all over the place, scattered and not listening.
And that brings us to today's show.
I love it. Intent.
Intent, right? The intent behind the choices we make and how that determines our health profile.
Okay.
Okay. So what is intent? It's a conscious decision to bring out a specific outcome through directed thoughts, actions, and energy. So what that means is everything's energy. Everything is energy. So the energy behind what you do. So think about it. I'm going to start with my story. So for me, in my 30s, when I was severe allergies, asthma, chemical sensitivities, and all that, and then I ended up with the paralyzed muscles on my right side, there was a point where they said I was just going to have to accept the fact that I would be paralyzed on the right side, and that was going to be my life. And something inside me drove me to know that I was going to be okay, and I was going to help people figure it out too. And from that day forward, my intent became that I wanted to see myself aging gracefully. Everything I did in my life revolved around that. And it was to the point where I was butting heads with everybody and anything because they wanted me to go down a certain route and it didn't feel right. Then they wanted me to try this and it didn't feel right. And then my husband wanted me to go here and it didn't feel right. And I just kept going with that drive that I was going to be better, and it just kept taking me where I wanted to go.
You didn't need anybody to give you the map.
Right. So what happens to us is we don't live in that drive. So let's take it, we want to lose weight.
Okay.
Our intent is to lose weight. So then all our actions revolve around the food, the scale, following the food plan, the exercise. We're not thinking about why we want to lose weight other than we want to be thinner or healthier. But if we bring it to an intent of our greater good and to age gracefully and focus on that every day, you're going to forget about the food, the scale, and all of that. And then you're going to start driving yourself to eating the right foods, all on your own.
Right.
All on your own. Because your intent is not to lose weight.
Your intent is to
You're going beyond,
forward. Right.
beyond.
It's almost like if your intent is to lose weight, that's a short-term goal. But if your intent is to age gracefully and become healthy, and not just the 2-minute healthy, then that becomes a long-term lifetime
And it's not
goal.
just saying it, it's the energy behind it. It's your intent that you truly want to be the healthiest. People can say, well, I want to be the healthiest, but you don't, because your actions don't dictate that, because you haven't lived in that energy. You want to be the healthiest according to what you want.
Right. Not what you need.
Not what you need and what's put in your path. So it's about learning that if you literally put out, that's why that meditation is asking to see what you need to see and be open to all possibilities. And if you can fine tune your intent, and I've always used a greater good perspective, meaning anything I do for the greater good. But the short part of that is, if it means that I have to learn something, I'm going to learn it, and I might not like what I'm learning to get there. But the wisdom's going to come from, okay, I can see that that is going to show me that I didn't see this. It was short-sighted. It is for my greater good.
Yep.
So it's not going to be this blissful path.
Yeah, I did that for 4 weeks, and I have to say that I agree with you. I ate some foods that I haven't eaten in a while, and I had a different way of thinking and didn't just reach for what was quickest. And it might have been healthy, but it wasn't right for me. And so you also have to go through the picking and choosing what is really for you, not what the diet says or the person says.
Because if you're doing it from an energy perspective, okay, you know, people say all the time, I go into the room and I can tell that the room is just toxic, or I can tell that person's in a bad mood. The food's going to do the same thing to you. The minute you see it in your space, you're going to know. If you truly want to know, you know.
Oh yeah, that's that little guilt in the head that goes, don't even take a bite. No bite, because you know what's going to happen if you take that bite. Don't sip that. And in my 4-week journey last month, that was this.
But intellectually, you were told that if you do A, B, and C, it should yield D.
Yep, and it didn't.
Because you're not that book.
Correct.
Not one of us is that book, but we all live in that book every day.
Well, they say, don't put a square peg in a round hole. That's exactly what we're talking about. We try to fit in that diet. We fit in that exercise plan. We try to fit in that book. And it really is not so.
I mean, I had somebody recently, and they had a lot of neck pain and hip pain and back pain. And I'm asking them about their workouts, and they're doing their 60 religious laps in the pool every day because they have a smaller pool to get their whatever mile or 2 miles they want in. And they're doing a combination of the cross crawl, the breaststroke, and whatever. But they have stenosis in the neck, they have arthritis in the back, they have all these things. And I said, so you're in really good shape is what oh yeah, I do my exercises all the time, and blah, blah. And I go, and you're not sure why your neck hurts. But that crawling part, right? So when I try to bring that up, no, because that is what he needs to do to be in shape.
Well,
but
you can't do the breaststroke, you can't.
Well, because he's intellectual.
Right, so he's following the plan.
He's following the plan. So if your intent is for your greater good, you're going to start realizing, well, this is not working for me. I got to try something else.
Right.
What's my body asking me to do? And then you're going to be led to those things automatically because your true intent is for your greater good.
Correct. And going to the gym and having someone set up your fitness plan is not always the answer either. You have to have some discernment and figure out, are some of these exercises and plans cookie cutter?
Right. If you need guidance, I'm all about guidance. I pick everybody's brain, everybody I meet. I think everybody is a textbook of information.
Yep.
That doesn't mean I'm going to use it all.
Right.
It's either going to help me figure out what I like or what I don't like and give me ideas I didn't have that I can take to the next step. But we get so sucked in to say, oh, they must know. They must know. They must know.
Yeah. And it's not so.
It's not so. Because nobody's in your body but
Correct.
you. Nobody.
And I always felt that what you did as a child that worked for you, you should continue through your life with obvious adjustments, but not, let's say you did gymnastics or ballet as a young child, and then you decide you want to be a football player. And then later on in life, you try to do something else. I think the body remembers.
But I think you have to be where you're at. Because sometimes the overcompensation of all those years with that sport is what's really,
got you where you are now.
So you have to go against that.
Yep.
So you have to listen because there's no one written rule to anything. You have to be right where you are because you don't know if you've had an ankle injury since then, you have neck issues since then, what your body needs at that given point. You can't even go back. People say to me, why don't you keep notes when we come in here? And I said, because you haven't been here for 3 weeks and anything that's going on with you in the last 3 weeks is null and void to what I dealt with last time.
Right. Well, when you walk in that door, there's a new you.
But you go to the physical therapist, they start right where you were last time you were in. They start right where until they do their 6-week evaluation. That's the way we are.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
That's the way we are.
Yep.
You have to always be in the present moment with yourself. And that's how you're going to figure those things out. I even see it in most spiritual practices. People think I meditate, therefore I am, and it's not true because sometimes meditation can take you too far. I'm working with somebody right now that meditation, she just is so good at losing herself that she can't function in society because she meditates so much because she was trained that that's what you're supposed to do to solve all your problems. That's not what she should do to solve her problems. She can't keep detaching from them. She has to face them and sit in them.
Correct.
So again, people get rid of negative energy because they're doing the spiritual work and it doesn't serve them. Well, maybe you do need to sit with your sister and find out why there is no one rule.
Well,
ever.
And just erasing everything and pushing it aside is not the answer either. That's called ignoring it.
Well, that's a big practice. That's a big practice. And people do that and then they don't heal and then they get more negative over time because they're not learning the things they need to learn.
Right.
So your intent should always be for your greater good and your long-term health and wellness. And if you truly, truly mean it and you put that intent out every day, things will start showing up in your path to help you achieve that. Okay. But if you just want to lose weight to be healthy, you're going to find everything that's going to help you lose weight, not
what's
achieve
going to make you,
total healing from a mind-body perspective.
And not have to do the bumpy ride.
Right.
The roller coaster.
I was talking to somebody this week, she does horses, and she's been using a lot of energy techniques, the most intuitive woman I ever met. And she said sometimes she gets stuck because one of these techniques doesn't do this. I go, why are you using the techniques? She goes, because I learned them. I go, but you're so darn intuitive. I go, use them as a foundation, but just let go. And she's just looking at me. I go, it's really okay. The horse doesn't know your technique.
Of course, if you want, you could say, well, I'm going to do technique A today. And if that doesn't work.
The horse is reading you.
Correct.
And she goes, you're right, it is. And it was so fun to brainstorm with her, because I used to work on horses too. And they'll take this healing to a whole nother dimension because they're prey animals. So they'll take every moment, because in the wild, you know, they're at risk.
Correct.
So they will take every inch of this energy stuff and just use it where we're not at risk. So we just throw it out with the trash because it's not as valuable to us.
But it's extremely valuable to them.
Right. And if you look at a dog takes about 10 minutes of it. A horse will take about an hour of it because a dog is not at risk.
Correct. I was just going to.
So they don't have a lot of need for it either, other than their immediate needs if they're in pain, but then they're gone with it.
Right. We're all set. It's all good.
Yeah.
I was going to say something like really naughty, but I'm going to be good.
But now, and cats just use it to suck the life out of you, just so you know.
Yes. Although the purring and the vibrations, just a little bit of petting is good for everybody, for your grounding, but you don't have to do it 20 hours a day.
Right. So intent is not a goal. Okay, a goal is like losing 10 pounds in 3 months or running a marathon, right? There's a specific target. There are often deadlines and stuff like that. So intent is very different. It's just the energy. It's this energy behind what you're going to do.
Could you say process?
It's hard to explain, but if my intent is to make peace with you, I'm going to want to fight because you're starting to fight with me again. And then I realize inside, no, we're here to make peace. But then you push my button. I'm like, no, we're here to make peace. So as long as I keep that intent of making peace with you, I will not react to anything you say because I'm here to make peace.
Okay. All right.
And I'm holding that intent.
Hold the intent. I like that.
And as long as you're holding that intent and you know why you're there or why you're living every day,
then you're not going to get nudged.
You're not going to get sidelined.
Right. But I would imagine you'd have to practice that a little bit. So I don't think I'd go into full battle right off.
No.
My intent is not to fight, because then you're going to end up getting
And why it's so
aggravated.
important is because it integrates the mind, body, spirit thing that everybody wants to do.
Well, yes, because what your mind is saying, like I just did, my intent is, you can tense up in your body. You can have that whole posturing in your body. It
balances all, because now you're not overusing your body. You're not overthinking.
Right.
And you're connected to you're connected to the universe, which is helping you hold space for that intent. And then it just balances you right out. So intent behind anything you do.
So just to go a little bit off the beaten path with the intent. So we hear quite often, which I'm really liking, people having a little bit more open discussions. So if you put out there, so if you're not dealing, you and me or you and a sister or whatever, if you're constantly angry and you're putting out anger all the time,
take a step back and ask what your intent is.
Why are you angry? Why are you?
No, what is your intent every day when you wake up?
So set that right at the beginning when you get up.
So when you get up, if you set that intent to not put anger into the world, as soon as you start blowing that anger, you're going to be like, ooh, I said this morning I wasn't going to do it. Yeah. Because I promised myself I would not do that. But if you don't set that intent, you're just going to keep reacting and going off. That's why CAB's so important, right? Because you catch yourself, you assess yourself, you take a deep breath, and then you're out of the moment.
Right.
But that is where we were going with it, to set that intention every morning when you get up. And just do that 3-minute. Ask to see what you need to see and ask for your greater good in all your choices all day. However you need to word it for yourself that it makes sense, just don't narrow it. Because people say, I want to have my knee fixed, or I want the greater good to fix my knee. Just go for your overall health and well-being and balanced life.
The word balance is just going to come out of my head. Let's balance the body.
It's all the synchronicities, all those little things that show up that you didn't know that are going to...
Well, and it's not always just the knee.
It's not always just the knee.
I mean, if you've got a cut on your knee, your knee hurts and it's bleeding because there's a cut on the knee. But otherwise, again, like you said, synchronicity, balance, show what you need to. Your shoulder could be up here and causing that knee pain, but let's
Right.
step back, like you said.
Right. I think that people need to put out the intent that they understand, their health and wellness choices for their greater good long term, because right now nutrition is the foundation of every part of our lives. It gives us the energy, it gives us the brain functioning, it helps us heal our bodies, and that is we are lacking the most. And it's not because of our food sources like everybody think, it's because of our choices.
Okay.
I mean, the calorie deprivation diets, the people doing the shots now,
Right.
the overeating all the time,
The supplements.
or the vegan diets, or whatever it is, and they're not listening to what their body wants. I mean, if you listen to what your body wants, the food quality will fix itself. You've already seen a shift in more organic chickens and things like that.
Correct.
So we can't go after those people if we're not doing it ourselves.
Right.
I get people that come into my office all the time that are in their higher realm of themselves saying, well, I only eat this and I only eat that and I only eat that. And I'm like, but you're still not listening to your body. You're doing it because you think it's the right thing to do. And they're still more sickly than half my other clients because they're not listening to the right foods. They're they're not going to eat this or this or this because it's bad. Yeah.
Right.
So, but it should always start, your intent should always be open to you for your greater good. And your greater good could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be your relationships, it could be your job, it could be where you live, it could be your food choices, it could be your sleep, it could be your stress levels.
Could be your exercise.
Could be your exercise, could be just your lack of connection to the earth. It could be anything.
Well, I have to tell you, in full disclosure, I mean, you already know it anyway, but it's not as easy as it seems. And when when you and I have talked and come to the office and back and forth, I think I'm at a certain place, and I find out, I'm not really doing that. I think I'm doing it, but I'm not. So it is a process, and I have to have an intent that I want to truly hear what my body's saying, and it just doesn't go, hey, yo, Jocelyn.
I have to say, one of my things, people come in and I'll say, how you doing? I'm actually doing great. I go, good. I'm glad to hear that. Tell me what's going well. And they said, my body's feeling great. And then once we get into their bodies and they realize that their hips aren't moving right and their ankles not moving right and everything else, and they go, how come I didn't know that? I go, well, are you still self-assessing? Are you doing your posture for life? Well, no, because I knew my body. I go, your body changes every day, and the body is we have 2 feet and we stand upright. We don't have all fours. So if the body starts to tilt in one direction, it's going to anchor. So just a bad posture day, a bad exercise day, a bad nutrition day, a bad stress day, you've already rewired and you don't know you're doing it.
So by following the body assessment, and you're checking
you don't have
the
to use mine.
Right.
Use your own.
Whatever, yeah.
Use your own. But you're
if you
going to catch yourself before you go anywhere.
Right. So instead of saying, how do I feel good, or there's nothing visible to you, or you're not feeling anything, doesn't mean there's not something off.
Just literally lay there and roll one ankle and roll the other ankle and see if they roll the same. Roll it. Flex the foot. Oh my God, this Achilles is really tight. I didn't know that. Work the Achilles. You can figure it out on your own. You can do one shoulder rotation, then the other shoulder. Are they rotating? If not, oh, this one's really pulling on my neck. Okay. Because that's going to accumulate over time. You don't need my stuff to do it. My stuff helps.
Right. Well, I think it's a step by step. And again, not you have to do it this way, but you need to start to learn how to assess your body, how to, like you said, compare the 2 ankles, compare the 2 wrists. It's not, we don't need an x-ray. We don't need all those complicated things. We need to feel, think.
Stay home.
Right.
Yep. We make sure our living room's designed right and decorated. We make sure our lawn's mowed. We make sure all these things.
But we're not making sure we are. And you have to go deeper. And again, stop looking at the surface.
Should just stay home once a day. And get to know yourself. How did my day go? How were my stress levels? My check-in list on there. Was my nutrition sound? Was I reactive to everything? Is my body hurting? Did I overcompensate today that I need to do some offsetting? I mean, it's your body. It's how you age. I mean, if you've seen healthcare, that's your choice. I'm not going to tell you should or you shouldn't, but I wouldn't want to be in healthcare right now.
The stories I've heard since the last
worse and worse every day.
They're horrendous.
They are horrendous.
Horrendous. And
So we got to start learning to stay home and start maintaining ourselves a little bit.
And sharing with each other.
That doesn't mean you won't
being
ever
open.
have to use it.
Well, correct, but you don't want to use it as the catch-all, the salvation.
And you want to know yourself when you're sitting in front of that practitioner.
Right, you want to be able to really point them in the right direction and be very specific about why you're there. Not just a free-for-all, let's figure something out and see what happens.
So yeah, intent is huge. Intent is life. And your intent should be for your greater good and your healthy aging.
Keyword being your.
Yes.
Your greater good, not their greater good. Don't mix up those two words. All right, tell everybody where they can contact with you.
AwakenWellness.life is up and running pretty strong now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's getting better all the time. So it's a free membership. Just go in. I'm starting to put self-help information in there all the time. I am going to work on some premium stuff so you can have some programs that you can purchase along the way.
Okay.
I'm not there yet, but at least the free
get
stuff
there.
is going out there, and there's information. You can swap recipes with me now. You can swap some bodywork stories with me now. You can write your own personal healing story now so other people can learn from it and share from it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things going up in there now, so we can all kind of learn from each other versus me just blurting stuff out. I want to know what happened to you. You know, I want to know how you figured it out, because that might resonate with
somebody else, right?
Yeah,
we're all different.
We're all different.
We're unique,
and one little piece that somebody shares might help somebody else.
I love it. All right, so thank you for joining Marie and me, Jocelyn, and we will see you next time. Have a fabulous day.